Live stream.
Right. So now that should come on here. Now, Facebook's changed today. I've gone to something called a professional dashboard.
Oh,
And
oh,
therefore,
that's okay.
I've no idea because it's not appearing on my. Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. It's coming up now. I'll be with you in a. Hello, everybody. Be with you in a moment. Just bear with me. If I tap on that, yeah, that's happening. Yeah, that's good. And what I do is I'll put that there in front of me because there are certain people who put up rude comments while we're speaking.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you know the type, don't you?
yeah.
In fact, the class that you belong to, they were all like that, rebellious. But we'll talk about how we know each other in a second.
Okay,
Just just let's see. How the hell are you anyway?
I'm really, really good.
So that satanic sign behind you, what's all that about?
So I was guided a few years ago to put. Um, it's not satanic. It's a heart chakra with an arm in the middle. I spent most of COVID crying my eyes out, trying to get my head around dense energy and painting and creating. That's how I got, because I worked as a carer.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So I see. So you got, when you say you got guided, what do you mean you got guided?
So I have quite big angelic guidance, which only came at me after I'd done the holistic therapies.
Oh, I see. So angelic guidance. I've just come back from like a little exhibition festival conferencey type thing, and
Yeah.
it's full of people like you talking like this.
Fabulous.
Yeah, they were talking about archangels, legions of angels,
Oh,
um, extraterrestrials, or some things like that.
yeah.
And they were going on about all that stuff. Does that mean anything to you at all?
Yeah, that makes me feel really happy inside.
Does it now? Does it? Because it makes me feel happy inside as well. Because you know my story, I won't bore you with it, or bore everybody with it, but it was basically as a biomedical scientist in the NHS who was cracking up every single day and tried to drink a litre of alcohol every day just to normalize myself, you know. And
Yeah.
in the end, it ambushed me, and I just like tried to do myself in. And in that process, I was sort of opened up to things like archangels and angels and all extraterrestrials and all that sorts of stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
for some reason, I ended up in the psychiatric department, right, being labeled as having a psychotic attack or being psychotic, you see, and stuff like that. But I realized today, Val, for myself, that that was just a spiritual awakening for me. I was being realigned with who I essentially am because I was living my life back to front and upside down. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, I think I was too. And I think like 2018 was a crazy year for me. I can remember bang, 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 just loads of. I can remember reading a book one night and it was like somebody was doing that on the top of my head. And I was like, what the hell's that? And then I can remember hearing a voice that felt outside of me, but it was my inner being contacting me, and it was saying, "Well, I'm inside you, Val. It's the voice of God."
Oh, oh, I see. When was the last time that you went to the psychiatric department? Right.
I think they'd keep me in if I went there now.
Uh, They
Never been
probably
there.
would, because they still haven't got a clue what's going on. Because there's more and more people with so-called mental and emotional and psychological problems,
Yeah,
right? They're almost like being sort of locked in these wards now because people don't know what to do with them. I've got friends, you know, like infiltrators who do Reiki on the insides of psychiatric hospitals, you know, and they have to do it sort of in the corner behind the curtains. But by all accounts, you know, even though it's hearsay, by all accounts, the individual patients are improving. It's all hilarious to me now, you know, because I can see so clearly that this world is completely and utterly upside down. It's just nonsense, you know.
yeah. I think we've got to get way better at understanding our emotions, our feelings, our mental health, and how that impacts your physical body, because your aura is like, my aura starts out here, doesn't it? You've got your emotional aura, your mental aura, the all of that,
How
and
do
it
you know that
affects
though?
us.
Val,
Yeah.
have you read that? Have you read that, or do you know that?
Well, I
Right.
know that, and I've read that. I always get them in the wrong order though.
All right. Okay. And when you go on about, you're not going to talk about like different levels of energy and different dimensions, are you?
I might do.
Oh. Do you know what? I
I
love
want
you. I absolutely love you, because that group we had, when we went back, and I don't know how long ago it was, God knows how many years ago, but we used to have a laugh, didn't we, really?
to.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think the sixth sense, as far as I'm concerned, is the sense of humor, which is sorely lacking in the world, I feel. You
yeah.
know. And people can't stand you laughing now when they're going through their problems and things like that. But that's not our problem. That's their problem.
No, but you. I think you've got to try and have compassion for people going through stuff. Spirit told me to do this.
Oh,
And
Christ.
I was told to go and get a ball of wool and a ball of wool. And humanity is having its soul knitted together with its human. That's what's basically happening, isn't it? Whether we're aware of it or not, we're getting more intertwined with our soul.
I see. So, when was the last time you were in the psychiatric department, did you say? So, do you mean that in some way there's a sort of quantum disentanglement taking place, and the soul itself is actually infiltrating the physical body and attempting to radiate its light actually through the human being and
Yeah.
embodying the human being? Do you think it might be something like that?
Yes. I
So
like
what's
you use
so
much more eloquent words.
no, so what's blocking it from coming through? Why can't it just like step in and do its work? What's blocking it?
Well, that's you could talk about that for hours, couldn't you? Uh,
Well,
those little chakras of ours, they're like, we are like conduits for energy, aren't we? And
you
it
just
comes
what
at us.
conduit, eh? That's now there's a
Yeah,
word. Conduit, very good.
we are all. Well, that's what we're all. We're all conduits of energy, including dogs. My dog's sitting down there.
So when you say conduit, do you think we're conduits, or do you think we're conductors, or do you think that we're both of those things,
Yeah, I
really?
think we're both of those things. I think
I,
it comes at us, it passes through us. All kinds of things get stuck in us though, because sometimes I catch a hold of somebody else's aura, don't I? And it's not great, and then I feel a bit rubbish for a few days, and then I have to go off and kind of sort myself out a little bit, and then um, yeah, I think in the future we'll have like energy workers in the schools. I mean, they're already doing yoga and meditation in the schools, aren't they?
yeah, I think that they're already in there.
Yeah, I think.
Because some enlightened schools that are still in the system are opening up now and allowing Reiki practitioners in as well,
Oh,
right?
amazing.
But when you consider things like yoga to people, yoga thinks it's just those asanas or asanas, the postures, but that's only a very tiny part of yoga
Yeah,
because what yoga's about is the sacred union of the masculine and feminine within the individual, and I think you're right. I think what happens is sometimes you can be in the presence of somebody else and you sort of perceive a negative emotion or a negative energy,
yeah,
but that's not really about them. That's about us picking something up. And this is my understanding
yeah,
and judging it at some level. So it's a lack of compassionate depth, which we all have, right? I mean, so compassion to me means, right? Compassion's not the same as empathy. Empathy's a trap, actually. Compassion is a detached alertness. It's to be detached with love and not actually take on board anybody else's karma or lessons,
yeah,
right? So I think that would become more truly useful because most of the time, my empathy side picks up it. My head goes into, oh God, I better keep away from them, right? And leave, I hope they leave me alone. But then the other side comes in to say, no, hang on a second, judgy boy, right? Right? You've been through all this, right? You're here actually, whether you like it or not, to sit with that person and help them to reconnect with their essential selves, And I think, well, do I have to? And I just, the answer is, yes, you do, because that's what you signed up for, whether you like it or not, ego boy, right?
yeah. I get a bit of that as well. I
I
get.
think.
Can we talk about something funny that happened to me the other week? I got shouted at in the middle of the night by the spirit of chicken.
Oh, all right. Okay. Val, have you got the phone number for the hospital? The spirits of chicken. Go on then.
Tell you, I got invited to my friend's house. I went round to his house. I brought my dog. I'd had a very busy day. My dog, at some point, ended up off the lead, and this friend's got three chickens, and my dog frightened the chickens, and I got her away, but got her back on the lead quite quickly. Didn't think any more of it. But then that night, I got woke up by a huge energy that was not angelic. It was it was not my dog jumping on top of me in the middle of the night. It was the spirit of chicken, and I had to get up and kind of hear it and listen to it. And it was I'd angered the chickens because I'd frightened them. So over the next few weeks, I have to figure out how I can be nice to the chickens.
This is taking
I
me
don't, I,
back.
I don't want to incur bad chicken karma, do I?
Well, apparently there's a portal in America that's all to do with chickens.
Okay.
It's in a special state called Kentucky. Can't help it. Can't help it. But the whole thing about it is, each soul comes here, in my view, with a specific frequency that's attached to a specific purpose,
Yeah.
right? And I think unless we live to that purpose and that frequency, we can never find true fulfillment, because fulfillment means to be made full, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Filled with spirit rather than material things. So to be satisfied, because satisfied from the Latin, it means to be filled full, right? So we can't be satisfied with our life until we're realigned with our primary essential purpose, right?
Yeah.
Which I think it's that advert's coming to you. I feel like chicken tonight, chicken tonight. It's in my head now, right? And I've got a picture of that advert that's on with the big giant chicken in America stamping on things now. So I'm gonna have nightmares now about chickens, right?
Well, just send out prayers to them.
Well, I do.
I do.
I,
I have to pay back some kind of good karma to the chicken. Come on, get up. You didn't think it was. What did you think we were going to talk about? Come on, my dog's just been.
I never think anything. My thing is about being spontaneous. I mean, don't with no plan, just turn up and see what comes up. But I know that we do have a link. You said you'd made some notes, and sometimes I'll call it from spirit. From spirit, I get write this down because you need to understand it. So I do that. But generally speaking, I just turn up, open my gob, and see what comes out. And most of the time, what comes out surprises me just as much as everybody else, really. You know. And I think that's the way it's supposed to work. Is if you can keep your head or the I call it the headator. If you can keep the headator out of the way and just open up and speak. I think more truth comes out like that then.
I think you're right. I think I'm still working on that. Be less in my head and more in my heart is something I'm trying to work on.
I think everybody is, and I think those who aren't are being battered and kicked up the arse to say you need to get out of your head and into your heart
Yeah.
because that's where the solution is. And what a solution does is it dissolves things, doesn't it? I was told a long time ago, Joe, the solution to all your problems is within your heart of hearts. And I
Yeah.
go, well, what do you mean by heart of hearts? Well, there's a human heart which is basically full of sentimentality, right? That's the empathy side that actually takes on board other people's karma, right? He said, and most people think that that's a good thing because, oh, I can feel your pain, Joe. And this is the way spirit talks to me. Joe, that's bollocks. Because after 18 years of age, because up to that point, parents are responsible for their children. Because at 18 years of age, you can say to them then, right, it's your soul, work it out for yourself and let them go, right? But we don't know these things. I mean, this is stuff that's come to me and been confirmed by other people. I don't know why I'm going on about this, but I am. But this is about parenting, and it's about some of the students I used to have, not in your group, but in the other groups that I used to teach, right? They would be so stuck to their parents. And
Uh,
sometimes I had to ring the parents up to see if Chloe could participate in the massage session, all that sort of stuff.
yeah.
Because they come across as being very entitled and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's almost like being highlighted now for parents to stand up because parents are they're not supposed to be the best friends of the children because that causes problems. I'm going to cause problems here saying this, but you're not you if you're a parent, you're not your kid's best mate. You're its parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, oh Christ, I'm on one. I don't.
I
So
point out I haven't got a clue what parenting's like. I haven't had children, but
right.
I think there are some. I've got friends who are amazing parents. They're talking about their children's mental health all the time with them. They're talking about their emotional health all the time with them. They're trying to guide them in the bestest way. Yeah, we need more of that, don't we? Because
Well, I think so, and I
they're
think
the future, aren't they? The children today are tomorrow's everything.
did, have you just looked at the what I've called this the link?
No?
Okay, it's called "Tomorrow's Children Are Here Today."
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Yeah, and you're saying the same words basically, but that's how I feel now. Is that the children, and I know that I've read this off other people, and I thought, what do they mean by this? But by all accounts, and it feels correct to me, is that many of the children that are here now, right, or even being born, are coming through more or less as blank slates now, right? That they're not bringing with them any ancestral karma or any misdirected DNA and stuff. They're actually coming and bringing through their own intelligence, right, without being warped or misdirected or perverted. I
Yeah,
honestly feel this so much. And you know, I mean, there's people on here who'll be bored with me saying this, but our children are not our children. They come through us, not from us,
yeah,
meaning that we don't own them. And don't get me wrong, because I was like a tyrant with my kids. I made sure they did their homework on time, this, that, and the other. I was very disciplinarian, right? When Claire, my eldest, got to, that age when she became interested in other people and all that, I was like a stalker. And if she wasn't in at exactly the right time, right, she used to get hell off me or all that. I don't mean physical discipline or anything like that, but, she used to be confined to quarters for a while and all that. And I can see now that it was a sort of misguided attempt at looking after her, which actually imprisoned her and caused loads and loads of resentment. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't know why I've just come out with all that there, but that's what I used to be. I mean, I haven't always been like a saint.
But I think my friends' children are like little walking philosophers. Some of the things they come out with, I'm looking at them going, well, where have they got that from? But I think that is like the evolution of the human is coming through in that generation because they're like they're really intelligent. Well, some of them they're more compassionate. They will question their mums and dads because they'll be like, "Well, why did you do that? That wasn't very nice, was it?" I wouldn't have said things like that to my mum and dad when I was little because I'd probably have got a clip round the ear. But you're not allowed to do that anymore, anyway, are you?
Right. You can do, but just make sure you don't get caught.
Yeah,
No, but my kids, I look at my kids and I look at my grandkids now, and I'm so happy, because my three children, they just disowned me completely when I was going through all my stuff. They
yeah.
they disowned me, and I had to go through court. There was barristers involved and all that. And this is what happens in a miraculous way. I was off the drink then. I went through, I apologized, I said I didn't realize I see things completely differently now. And on the morning of the court sitting, oh, I'm getting all emotional talking about it. On the morning of the court sitting, the three kids came over and sat on my knee, and that was the end of the story. And since that moment, our love has grown and grown and grown now. And I
Oh,
see them every Saturday morning. I have my park run, I go round, they make me breakfast, and after about an hour, I'm getting bored with them, and they're getting bored with me, but we're dead honest about it.
yeah.
And my eldest, our Claire, she'll say to me, yeah, time to go, father, right? And we give big hugs, big squeezes, and everything else, right? The grandkids are fantastic. And I let them get on with it, and I don't even throw a single bit of advice in unless they say to me, "What do you think, Dad?" And then I'll say, "Well, I think that, but it's entirely up to you." So my whole thing now is getting out of the standards of the head where all the framework is and just asking our hearts, what's the best way to go forward here? Not only in our personal choices, but if somebody asks advice, if someone comes to me and asks advice, I don't know what they need to do, but I know that the spiritual side of them does, you
Yeah.
know. So I try and tune in, get it like a heart to heart connection, and then just just feel, and I'll say to them, well, these are me feelings and these are me thoughts, but by all means, you work it out for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've been through quite a lot of grief, but I don't think I was grieving for just my dog and just my dad. I think I was grieving for a lot of past life stuff, which I probably better I didn't go into. Uh,
Why not? Why not?
well, my I've had quite a lot of past life visions that have just come to me when I meditate. I haven't been hypnotized to get them or anything; they just come, and my like my soul seems to go back to Neolithic caveman times. So I think when I take on any emotion, I think it's going back to then. And I've had I've been like I've been a witch quite a lot of times, and I've lost my head in unpleasant ways. I suppose there's no pleasant way to lose your head, is there? But yeah, I know that I'm integrating all of that whilst trying to grow more spiritually and listen more to the guides that I get and listen to the heart.
See, I've got that. I get that. I get prehistoric even before. I have a friend called Elsa who keeps saying to me because she picks up what she calls rock ET, right?
Yeah,
So there's the rock, right? And she feels, and I feel this, that I'm being guided, and she calls before maketh man. So before man was on the planet, right? It seems that I'm being guided from something that's beyond that. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I don't really try and work it out because if I try and get my head around it and all that, it just blocks off the flow really. Um, and so what I feel is that almost it's source itself that's sending information to me to be translated and to be put in little chunks to help people. And
yeah,
that's what I do. Sometimes I'll get big words like, I mean, magneto, hydrodynamics, chromato, optogenetics, and all that. And these things come to me, the word comes to me. And then it's almost like I get, sort that out, son. You know what I mean? And then I have to go and research then, look at the science and then try and piece it together and stuff. Now, it seems to work, Val, because I gave a talk at this recent conference and it went down really well. It's because when I'm talking about the nervous system, I'm talking about wiring, and
yeah,
there's a wire that's like a brake and that's an accelerator. So that makes things go slower, that makes things go faster. Now, people appreciate that, you know, because I've seen people, and I used to do it myself, that was me ego. I'd be saying big words to say, look, I can say big words, aren't I great, but no information was being passed really, you know. So I've just come back from this thing. Anyway, I got in about 2 hours ago, and it was bloody fantastic. It's right up my street. Everything that enthuses me, right? I got guided because there was loads of talks going on at the same time, and I got guided to one, and one last night by Laura Eisenhower. Now she's quite a famous person, I believe, who goes across the world giving talks. But everything she talked about, right, I love, right. It's called Keylontic science, and I love it. And she was explaining in more detail. I was thinking, oh, right, I can see that now. And she talked about in the end the number 13 planet called Ophiuchus, right?
yeah,
I'll tell you in a minute. Ophiuchus, right, is come in as almost to realign the planetary misalignment. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great, 13. And then she said, hang on, let me try and recall it. Then she said, and because of that, right, because of the misalignments, there's only been four of the five elements that have been available to us. She said, this is about the reconnection with the fifth element. Well, that's what I go on about all the time. The number 13, the 12 disciples, and the fifth element, right? So it was almost like spirits were saying to me, listen, you big boy, right? You are on the right path, even though you think you're cracking up most of the time, And I trust this feeling now because when I feel enthusiastic about something, I just want to know more and more and more and more and more. Over to you because I've got no idea what's coming out of my gob here.
I sometimes have Syrian light language coming through me. Is that okay?
Of course, it's okay.
Hotolanina la balata, hotonina balata hita buto.
Maria zegt, je gaat op mijn sapje krijgen. Alle sapje gram aan horen en een sari jarom to shafte he. Alle sapje komt asiri jam to shafte he. More tachira onsari about to shandage. Horen del sabi oro. Ruten sek na hot maha. Do you mean that type of thing?
Hotobalanina patalato hotonina palata ita palata ita palata ita palata ita bondoni pa.
Kasgaloja nazo, or latsabialo koloma, mora kaslaya, motaka. Miato go sabiera, shabe achon onder de pet nehal, surje rond de kere ach mohot hedie, saptecha, etal.
We are the ancient ones. That's all
Yeah,
I've got. We're
yeah.
the ancient ones. I'm being prompted to talk about the dinosaur energy. So I live in a busy street in New Brighton. For most of COVID, the dinosaurs were running up and down the street that I live on in New Brighton. I would hear them roaring through the middle of the night. I
It's all right, Val. Honestly, Val,
I'm a company.
you are amongst friends. This is no shit, this, no word of a lie.
What?
2 hours this morning, I was sitting in a light language circle, right?
Ah.
And what came through were the dinosaurs, right?
Oh.
And the dragons, right? And everybody's talking about dragons, but I have a really strong affiliation with the dragon clan, right? Especially, and this was on the border of Wales and England, right? And it was all to do with, and people used to say this, I think, what a load of old bollocks, right? Until one day I opened my gob and all this stuff started pouring out, right? And I thought, oh, here we go. I'll be back in the psychiatric department in no time. But a majority of those people who were there this morning all spoke light language in different tones and different frequencies. And
Uh,
what I get is the 13 was King Arthur, right? We'll have King Arthur for the moment. It could have been Queen Guinevere, but just go with it for now. It's only symbolic. But the 12 disciples or the 12 knights or whatever, right? They were the connection to the cranial nerves. And each cranial nerve, right, determines how your senses work, right? And how your senses work. But more than anything else, the position of your eyes, right? I get this quite clearly. So
yeah.
your heart being the Christ or being King Arthur or being Isis or being Mary Magdalene, it doesn't really matter about that. It's a symbol of self-mastery. And when you've got self-mastery, you're in control then of how you hold your face, basically, which you can then point to a particular portal or sphere of consciousness, and you can actually travel through that to wherever you want in the universe and beyond this universe. Val, I get that every flaming morning, something like that. Here's a little snippet for you, son. And what I've got to try and do now is translate that into neuroscience,
Yeah.
right? And also to write that in a credible way that will be accepted by a lot of the academic community. But I can't mention King Arthur, Mary Magdalene, Isis, Osiris, Abydos. I can't mention any of those things. What I need to do is translate it into words that don't cause an antibody reaction to them. And then they'll say, oh, yes, we've known that for some time now. Fuck off. Oh, wait. Oh. So go on then. What were you saying?
No.
No, 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 neither do I. It doesn't matter, does it?
In
Say
the
it again.
language.
No, in anything. What's going on here?
The ancient ones are coming back together again.
Yeah. And I think that there are, and I had knocked myself out of this for ages, They used to say to me, you are a leader of leaders. And I think, oh, don't be giving me all that shit, you know what I mean? Because my ego will grab hold of that and, get to that self-importance thing. But I can feel that coming in now. And I sort of think that I am a leader of leaders, and a lot of the leaders are still in fluffy, luffy, pinky, nicky, dicky, dicky doodahs. And I think we've got to get tougher. And I think that the masculine side of us has got to come back now under the guidance of the intelligence of the sacred feminine.
Yeah.
Right. While she's making the tea. Hang on. Take that out. I'll edit that bit in case it causes trouble. But I think that's what's happening is the great shift of consciousness is a feminine energy. It's a truly nurturing, compassionate, loving energy, but it takes no shit. And it's basically saying to the masculine, listen, big boy, you've had your day here, right? And look at the state of the world now because you've been in charge, dickhead. Why don't you start listening to me, right? And why don't you just put into action what I'm saying? Give it a try, see what happens. Over to you, quick.
I was going to say the goddess Isis. When I've connected with her energy, she takes no prisoners, does she? She is like a force to be reckoned with. And when I find her, when she works through me, she is. I was going to say she's got big balls because that's what
Right.
it feels like.
Yeah.
She's a massive masculine power coming through her, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. Because I describe myself, and people have heard this, as gay from the waist up. Right.
Yeah.
So my bottom half works like that's supposed to, but me top half's very feminine and very, very sensitive and stuff like that. And I think that that's what this is all about. At one level, it's all about self-mastery within the individual. So it's basically allowing the head to get out of the way. That means jettisoning all the knowledge, all the information, the ideas, the emotions, the attitudes that have brought us to this point is just chop our heads off, throw the head away, and start working with this sacred reunifying energy. And I think that's what people are doing. And if they want to try and keep hold of their old ideas, they're going to get marmalized,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty when you go through it at all.
No. And that's what a rock bottom to me. A rock bottom is simply keeping hold of all the old ideas, right? Because you think it's important. And I was shown, my sponsor in AA said to me, he said, Joe, you've got all these qualifications, you can say big words, you're a very good scientist, you know all about hematology and all that. He said, but you've tried to kill yourself 3 times. So how's that helping you, Joe? How's it helping you? And
Yeah.
he said, is it true that all that is not worth he's carrot, I think he said he said something else, but
Oh,
I won't say it on here. He said, it's not worth a carrot, is it? You're not worth a carrot. He said, so tomorrow morning, why don't you just like start from scratch as though you don't know anything and just feel your way guided by your heart? And Val, that was over 33 years ago. My life's transformed or been transformed. I'm not doing the transformation. It's this next level of understanding that guides me. And I try and hang loose and get a feeling of the choices that I should make next. You know what I mean? What are you
yeah.
laughing at? Well, I've said
I,
something funny
I'm
or
just
something.
laughing because it's just good, isn't it? It's good. It's a better way to live.
Oh, absolutely. It's a better way to live. I've said this recently, as my old fellow used to say, go west, young man, and make something of yourself. Or, he said, go east, young man, and make nothing of yourself. Right. And
Yeah.
I think that the Eastern approach is just be nothing, right? And just be guided by something bigger than you because it's got your best interests at heart, right? And that's what I found from my personal experience. I'm not afraid, Val, of anything at all. In this moment now, there's not a shred of fear because we're right in the moment, and this really is the only existence, right? Because outside of this, we've got no control other than in this moment right now. And you can feel it, can't you? We're having a laugh, aren't we? Right. Even though there's like obliterations going on across the planet, that's got nothing to do with us. What's
No.
got to do with us is me and you having a chat.
And you can't actually, you can only really work on yourself. And even when you get things wrong, like getting told off by the chicken spirit in the middle of the
Here's the next question.
Yeah.
How do you know that was Syrian language?
I don't know if I'm honest. Because,
Being big this weekend, Lionsgate.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Lionsgate and all. And now I used to not believe in all that. I was proved wrong again. So
yeah,
Lionsgate, the energy's been massive.
yeah,
It's when Sirius energy really, really amps up, right? And
yeah,
it's also associated with the River Nile, and
yeah,
it's associated with the feminine of the Nile. So Isis is in there as well, and
yeah,
it's about basically about power. It's about the return of feminine energy to rebalance. And it's not to have a go at the masculine. It's just to say to it kindly, look, dickhead, right? We gave you the chance. This is this patriarchal thing.
yeah.
You're still trying to control us, and there's no way because you've had your go, you've made a mistake, you're going to get flushed out of the way now unless you start to cooperate. And I think that's what's happening. Because I think a lot of the females on the planet, they're getting like their drill gear on and their commando outfits, and they're trying to become the men, right? Do you see what I mean? It's like a bit bonkers, really.
I think it. Well, do you know about? do you follow any astrologers? Because I never used to follow any astrologers, but I do now. I listen to Pam Gregory and what's it, the other ones? Heather Ensworth. I didn't. I find the zodiacal, the processional cycles of the zodiac that change every 12. I think it's 12,000 years. We've just gone into the Aquarian age, aren't we? And we've just
Well,
gone out of the Piscean age. And I find when you start following your own zodiac sign and you realize that it affects your relationships, it affects your behavior, it affects your abundance levels, what you're allowed to take in. It's literally everything's written in your zodiac. If you've got a problem with anything, you shouldn't really go to the doctor. You should probably go to an astrologer because it would help you better. You know, like one that you actually. It's not just that silly little bit in the paper on a Saturday afternoon. It's your life is written in your zodiac.
I used to listen to Russell Grant and every time wanted to kill myself after. And poor old Russell, he was having a tough time. He's giving all this advice to everybody else while he was trying to do the same thing, God bless him. But no, from where I'm up to is my higher power, my spirit, my soul, whatever this thing is that guides me, and I feel it all the time, that can see a bit further than I can. And it
Yeah,
knows exactly how to feed me with information because it's not outside of me. It's the next part of me, if you like, the next evolutionary leap, right? And
yeah,
that's what I listen to. It's like being enclosed with angels' wings, right? And if that's a guardian angel, then so be it. This is the way my concept of it, and it seems to work for me. And sometimes I get a bit of a nudge, turn left, son. And my head says, "Oh, why do I have to turn left? It's quicker that way." And I get, "Turn left, son." Right? And I turn left, and I'll go and meet you coming out of the park, and we have a chat, and you say something which determines the choice I make. See what I mean? So
yeah,
it's listening to a feeling, right, and not what your head's telling you. And this is the thing, we've been so naive, right, that we've taken on board the so-called best methods to live by, mostly delivered by your mother, my mother, right? The school teachers, right? The priests and all that. Listen to them. And because we're sensitive people, we've taken it on board and tried to apply the ideas that they gave us, right? And
yeah.
that's where we got collared, we got imprisoned, we got corralled, we got contained, and everything else. Now, people are beginning to see now, Val, that we've almost been shafted, basically, right? We have, honestly, and it's not our fault as such, but at one level, we sort of chose this, but that's a story for another day. But this is where we find ourselves now. If we can start to see that those things don't work for us, if they ever did anymore, it's to just get shut of the whole lot and start to live now with radical responsibility and self honesty. And when someone says, "Do you want to do that?" If you want to do it, say, "I'd love to." And if you don't want to do it, say, "Not for me today, thanks."
Yeah.
Now, if they try and force you, then you can, by all means, you can punch them with love, right? And I won't have anybody force anything on me anymore, even though I've done it to other people, right?
I don't think anyone could.
No, but that's the whole point is because believe it or not, I wouldn't say boo, right, to anybody. I used to be terrified because if I say this, it might upset that person and they mightn't like me anymore. And one of the greatest gifts I've got now is I couldn't give two shits who likes me and who doesn't like me because I like myself, Val. I like myself.
Yeah.
And I had such a deep, deep lack of self-worth and a whole load of self-criticism going on, and I didn't even know that that was guiding me all the time.
Yeah, I think that's when I said before, I think I've done quite a lot of emotional work on myself and mental work on myself. I think I was there as well. I didn't even realize the way I was thinking wasn't very healthy because it had been like programmed into me for so long until I started meditating and started listening to those like voices you've got in your head.
Yeah. No, that
Like I've got multiple personality disorder. Everybody's got these, like, you have these conversations with yourself, don't you?
you
But
do.
what are those are they positive or are they negative? And you can make them more positive by listening to them and sending them on the merry little way, can't you?
Oh, get thee behind me, Satan.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that's it. But if you're on the treadmill, right, you can't hear those voices, or you can't hear the positive that's trying to inform you underneath all that cacophony,
yeah,
right? So the chaos is created, and it's still trying to be created. We're in a situation in the world now where distraction, which is basically temptation, right? The distractions are massive, right? You can look at any film you like now on Netflix and Video and all that. Anything you want at all. You can type it in and your particular genre will come through. And you can sit there for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours filling your face with crisps and pop and chocolate and coffee and all that and thinking that's life. But you don't realise that that's trapping you. You're getting more and more ill by sitting on your arse all the time and not doing any, and all, you can see it, can't you?
yeah,
But these people, they call it the opponents, or some people call it other names, Illuminati and all that. It's all part of the plan to see, right, how you're being tempted away from your primary purpose. So it's written into the scheme, and it's almost like encrypted in our DNA. It's good, this. So go on,
we need more
your go.
happy, not Happy, happy Happi, the Egyptian god. He was the Egyptian god of fertility and happiness and abundance and that in all that way.
So is he with you, like, or
No, I just thought I'd talk about him. He's quite.
okay? But that. So go on. He sounds like he's like my sort of chap. Him.
Somebody said to me once when I was in at work, "Oh God, you're always so flipping happy," and I didn't know what to say because I'm not actually always happy, but I was like, I don't. I'll just go and make you a cup of tea and your meal then, and
Yeah.
stop being happy. But isn't happiness a better disease?
Well, it's not, is it? It's a disentangling of the disease, and this is what you were saying before. Is it blows away all the physical obstructions and the mental obstructions which are in the ego mind, and it creates space. See, my thing is about create more space for the light to come in, because the light is the light body, which is the soul. And I think that we're in a process now of the soul's getting pushed by spirit. This is all to do with solar energies and quantum physics and stuff. As there's an astronomical, astrological realignment of planets,
Yeah,
it's powering up our sun. When it's the great central sun, it's powering up our sun, which is causing more and more solar flares, which are banging on the Earth's magnetosphere, right? Which is causing more and more reaction in the Earth's chakras, you know.
yeah. Have
So
you?
the Mother Earth, and it's not Gaia actually, it's Tara, but it's Earth's got like four components. There's Terra, which is like what we're on now. Then there's Tara, then there's Gaia, then there's Arimatena. So there's all sorts of different levels of the Earth. The Earth's being bombarded and realigned. Who's that?
Hotto lanyina la balata hita. Hotto honina da bada. Oh. I think that's the goddess Inanna.
You have to explain.
I believe she was the 13th goddess of the Anunnaki.
Okay.
Sometimes she comes through and gets really a bit mad.
Yeah, that's fine. Honest to God, see, I said in this group this morning because when that comes through, right? When it first came through, it scared the shit out of me and a lot of other people around me, right? And I thought I was being like repossessed. Like houses get repossessed. I thought I was being repossessed as well. And I've had to ask people for trust, right? Am I being repossessed? And he said, no, you've just touched the power, Joe. This is about the true power of the masculine. The masculine energy is the protector, and it's here to protect the sacred feminine who's
Yeah.
got work to do. So you're almost like a protector. And I thought it was Anunnaki redeemed, but then somebody else said, no, no, it's not. It's Anu, right? It's
Yeah.
before Anunnaki, right? The Anu, and you're being renewed, and you. So it's a new you.
Yeah.
And part of me is still skeptical because I believe the 12 disciples, the most intelligent disciple was Thomas, because he kept saying to Jesus, what are you going on about? you'll have to explain that more because I think you're trying to duck and dive there and dodge and weave. So he was the one who was basically the skeptic. And how come you don't answer the calls when I call you on a Friday night? And Jesus was probably out on the lash because he just had to take a bit of water, dip his finger in it, and it was like alcohol then, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Anyway, so he's probably out having some fish and chips because Friday's fish day, isn't it? Right. Anyway, I'm off on one. But what I'm saying is, right, there's something much, much, much bigger going on here. And
Yeah,
us flimsy little humans, we've got the ability to have much more potential than we possibly realize. If only we jettison, I could go on, I could shut off. Go on, you speak,
they,
speak.
they're, they're asking me to talk about the galactic children. I've started meeting galactic children who are doing, some of them are non-verbal because they've got autism, and they'll be doing this, but their mums and dads are, some of them haven't been aware of what they're doing, but I, in my heart chakra, I can hear their soul speaking, even though their little child human can't speak yet. And so I've been guided to go home and do ceremonies for those children. So from that perspective, I do what I'm told. um yeah, I don't know why I was guided to tell you that.
It's all right because I got this morning that Morse code is the tapping, right? Can be so you can translate digital back to analog as well. So it's a retranslation because the recorrection will happen beyond words,
Yeah,
right? Because words are just programmed sets of they're just noise coming out of a gob, aren't they? Right. But what's happening now is it's almost like dyslexic children are closer to the truth because they've got words in a different order than what the standard is. And we think about the King's English or the Queen's English, right? That's almost like a control mechanism. And even if you know now, as you put something on a word processor, it will come in to say, don't write it like this, write it like that, right? So even if I put any colloquial thing, slang words or anything like that, right, it comes in now to correct it and say, don't speak like that.
what does that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, this is so deep, right? But it's amusing because once you can see it and once you can read between the lines, so you don't take things literally anymore, you have to work with metaphor and symbols, right? But even the solution is even beyond metaphor and symbols, right? But you have to go through a whole process where you make meaning of your own metaphors.
Yeah,
Right. And people have got no idea. So what we're doing now is this is the way I see it. Right. It mightn't mean anything to you, but as long as I start to see what's trying to emerge, I get more knowledge of how my internal operating system works, and I become much more positive, much more strong, much more courageous. But not only that, much more useful to the realignment energy of the Holy Spirit. See, when I say Holy Spirit, religion here. In fact, it's probably to destroy religion as it stands. Over to you, Val, and let's see who's going to pop in next.
I was going to say, I'm just putting a question out to anyone who's listening or you. Why has the Vatican got an Egyptian room, and why has it got seven statues of Sekhmet in it?
Right, I'll answer that one is I know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you the answer because I don't care. Because I think that's a distraction, actually. Because once we get into all that fighting stuff, see, stuff that's already here is basically formed from past ideas and emotions, isn't it? If
Mm.
you work in the now moments, there's nothing there, just a blank script. So creativity or novelty means something that hasn't been done before. However, if we turn back and say this is an Anunnaki deception, reverse Metatronic thing, if we get into that, we've just gone back into the fight. It's taken us away from the now moments, and that's how they suck you in all the time, right?
Mm.
So I know all about that, right? I could go on forever about that because I'm interested in it, but sometimes I can get myself feeling away and I want to start fighting against it then they've got you, you see. I was told a long time, Valis, for by this time, when I got me sort of opening up, for by this time we have ceased fighting anybody or anything. Because if you're speaking love and killing people at the same time, right, you're not on the right path, whether you like it or not.
No, that's true.
So the children, right, the children that are coming through, right? As you say, in all various forms, right? The information will come through the send network. The special needs and disabled children are
Yeah.
bringing through the solutions and for the creation of a new world based on love, light, and compassion, right?
Do you know what autism means from the angel's perspective?
No?
Archangel Raphael told me this a while ago. Angels understand teaching in sensitivity more, and that autism is on the increase. It's on it, from their perspective. It's an evolutionary leap that children are becoming more sensitive, more compassionate, more philosophical, more more emotional. They're supposed to be like that. We're supposed to be like that, but it, it's all gone a little bit skew if, hasn't it?
You know, and that's why, and I knew that's why we're having this conversation. You'll be saying next, there's a new condition that's not in the medical literature, right? Called AUDHD, right?
AUDHD.
Yeah, yeah. It's a combination, right, of autism, right,
Yeah.
which is basically a cognitive processing problem, not problem,
Different.
difference,
Yeah.
right? And the other one, what's it called? The ADHD,
Yeah.
right? The hyper irritability and unable to sit down for more than a couple of seconds and not being to concentrate and firing off into different dimensions and all that sort of thing. Well, it's almost like a combination now of these two, and
Yeah.
more kids. They have their own jargon now. They're communicating with one another, but it's almost like the processing's going on, but they need to act. But they just need some guidance and some grounding on the directions to act in because there's so much energy coming in, right? And when you stop them, they get really angry and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because they get frustrated in a fraction of a second, right? I think our job, when you can tune into it, our job is then to have a whole armamentarium, right? To say, right, Billy, do that now, right? And it's almost like to keep them on the path, right? And guide them into the direction that they need to go. I don't know exactly what I'm saying here, but I feel this really, really strongly, really strongly. And
Yeah.
I think that I was born like that because I'm basically dyspraxic, dyslexic, and dyscalculic. Right, I couldn't be around anybody else. If there was any noise in the class, I could never concentrate because and they were considering sending me to a special school where it was quieter and all that. So instead, they sent me to a priest training college. Right, and the stuff that went on there, that's a story for another day. But I've had to, this is the point I'm trying to make is part of our job is to help these children to become more emotionally grounded,
Yeah.
right? Because then they can regulate a bit better their brain waves because they flip from gamma to alpha theta to delta to it's all over the place all the time. The idea is if they can work from their heart then starts to regulate all these extraneous energies that are flying around all the time. There's people on here now who are more expert in this than I am. And what's actually happening is there's almost like a collection of souls now, right, who will get together. I had a talk this morning for a couple of hours with somebody who's a psychologist, an art psychologist. In fact, I've got her card here. She's what's called art psychotherapist, and she's working in special schools now, and she's getting kids right who are blocked. She's getting them to do the art and to do movement and all that. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm hoping to do is I'm rewriting some curriculums now with all sorts of various modalities into them, but there'll be a method by which we can look at the nervous system regulation pattern of the individual, and we can identify specific techniques in order then to recenter as quickly as possible. Has that made some sort of sense?
Yeah. And I think for those kind of children, they need to spend more time around animals and they need to spend more time in the gardens and the trees and listening to the consciousness of animals and listening to the consciousness of the plants and the trees because I can do that.
Yeah.
I might have to take a whole a few hours to kind of bring everything down a bit, but I can listen to the consciousness of Nelly lying on the bed over there, and I can hear the consciousness of the water and the trees.
And so can I. Right. And that's why I like to be, and I used to not like to go to school. I would abscond a lot and they'd find me in the park. Right.
Yeah.
Because I felt more comfortable. And when I was on the piss, they'd find me in cemeteries, right? And I used to be like unconscious on top of gravestones and stuff. And I still love cemeteries for that reason now, is because I can feel the energy that's in there and it's peaceful to me, you
Yeah.
know.
They
So,
all.
so, and each soul, Val, and I've learned this over me studying and over me feeling, each soul has a particular geographical landscape that it feels more comfortable in. So if you're not in your particular eco environment that suits your soul, you're always going to be distracted. You
Ah.
see what I mean? So the seashore doesn't work for all souls.
Ah.
Sometimes it's my missus is a deep forest witch. Oh, did I say witch? It must have just popped out of my mouth. But she's deep forest, and the trees talk to her. Maybe shouldn't be talking about it here, but it's coming out, so I'm going to say it. Right? She doesn't do people. She can pick up the energy of people, and it distracts her immediately. But she has to be out in nature, in deep forest, where she changes totally. She just becomes peaceful. She becomes coherent and almost quite nice. Right? She's off Facebook now, so I can say what I like. No, but I didn't know this. You know, the first thing she said to me is, can you hear, right, what that tree's just said?" I thought, oh, here we go. I found the girl of me dreams, you know what I mean?
That's
Anyway,
amazing.
yeah. So no, I agree with you. And I don't know whether you know, but I'm working with people in locally who are trying to establish a send school based upon everything that we're talking about here now. And I'm getting guidance, right, to rewrite these curriculums based upon reintegration of the nervous system first and foremost. Because the thing I keep getting is fear blocks. And
Yeah.
when children are afraid, they can't take on board new information. All they can think of is get me out of here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's our job to adjust the environment for that specific individual, like I've just said, and also to understand their autonomic profile so that we can help to them to reset it more quickly. And what happens is, if they're working with their strengths and not their weaknesses, they'll enjoy it more. They'll open up more. Trust comes, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, you know.
Well, then they're better equipped to learn, aren't they? They can take it in.
Yeah. And
Mm.
they'll learn what they enjoy. And
Yeah.
when they enjoy something, they want to do more, don't they?
Yeah.
But maybe the opposition has known that anyway, because we're dealing with highly intelligent, nefarious sort of opponents here, right? And as I say, the standard educational system is sick. It's disintegrating because it's not working. But some parents are determined to keep their children in there so they can get high grades because they think that that's going to lead them to a beneficial life further on, so that they'll be able to make more money and all that. Well, the whole money thing's going to dissolve as well. So
Yeah.
all that's changing, Val, right? And so it will be based on loving kindness, right?
I was told that a while ago, by one of my guides, that in the not too distant future you won't care about money, and I couldn't get my head around that. But if that's what they're saying, bring it on, I say.
Yeah. And I think people like us and people who are listening to this, you know, we're being guided here. If
Yeah.
we can let go of any expectations of how this is going to work out, because we are being guided very clearly one day at a time.
Yeah.
And so just work towards the information or the job sheet that you're given in the day, and have no expectations, because sometimes you think, oh, it's going that way, right? When in actual fact, tomorrow it'll be a right angled degree turn the other way. And
Yeah.
if you get into, oh, look, I thought it was doing that, if you get into self pity and all that, it's just that your ego's getting back involved because you've had some expectations of how this should work out. I know that it's going to be positive, but I don't know the exact details, and I'm happy with that, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I spent a week in Ireland in May. Have you heard of Lorna Byrne?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
spent a week in her sanctuary in Ireland, and it is like a utopia. It is like, I just think she's incredible what she's doing there. If you ever get a chance to go there, go. It's it's like she's creating heaven on earth. But I think a lot of us are creating mini heaven on earths in our little whatever our role is.
I agree. I
And
agree. And we're getting much stronger now. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I've got friends on here, and there's a lot of them who've got Celtic connections,
yeah,
right? Like myself, deep down, and I get that very, very strongly, right? But my Celtic connections take me back then to the border of southern France and Spain and the Pyrenees,
Oh,
because apparently that's where the name Delaney comes from, Delan. It was all to do with shepherding and stuff. So, I mean, that's all very interesting. But that then took me back to the Cathars, right?
yeah,
The jolly old Cathars. And then from there, went back then through the Gnosis and the Gnostics and the all that sort of stuff, back into ancient Egypt. This is no shit, this. And I'm sitting there like watching a film. And I
yeah,
get back into Sumeria, right? And I have a thing that keeps coming to me is it keeps saying, watch out for the Tigris and the Euphrates, right? And I've had that all my life. I've been fascinated by that all my life. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's where I'm up to at the moment because I had a dream that I got taken back on like a big carousel wheel. And I got back to that area where the Tigris and the Euphrates is. And there was another wheel on top of it like that then that was going forward like that. And that's almost like we were implanted at that time then with futuristic energy.
yeah,
But that was, I mean, I have all this and I wake up and think, explain, please. Right. And it's almost like the ETs, let's call them ETs, the ETs that messed around with our genetics,
yeah,
right? They're from a future race, right? But because they logged into us, we logged into them too. So they've got the information that we can use now to take our future forward and create a better world. Who's that speaking to you now?
my dad. So
Okay.
my dad passed away. And you just said something that made me think of him. I connected with his energy a little while after he died, and for some reason, when he comes back, he's always got a black dragon with him. But he always tells me he's with the beings from the future, and I won't get, they won't give me any more information on it than he's with the beings from the future.
I get inspired by those beings. I get inspired by those all the time because mine's the thing is I'm not against AI as long as we're the controllers of it,
Yeah,
right? And I think that that holds the key to the future. If you're emotionally sensitive, right, but grounded at the same time, that's the only thing is if we become ungrounded, we're likely to be whizzed away by it, right? So it's so important for people like us, our sensitives, or who are being guided by spirit, to keep our feet on the ground all the time. It's that's going to save us and help us to go forward simply one step at a time. But if we expect anything or we come further out of the day than we should, we put ourselves in a dangerous position. So it's always to be heart centered, feet firmly on the ground, heads in the clouds, right? That seems to be the way forward.
yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I think you're right, and I thank all the helpers, the guides, the inspirers that have come through. It's confirmation for me. I've had a massive weekend of confirmation. I've got a whole lot of work to do, right, which is part of this thing, but I don't feel resentful at all about it. In fact, I'm very enthusiastic about it because, to be honest, I was bored shitless recently, waiting for something to happen, but it just looks like it's here now.
You're gonna like, yeah, the new children that sometimes I'm just walking the dog in New Brighton, and I can hear the consciousness of what they call the galactic children. I can hear them like in my heart before I see them. That I think because their soul energy is so, that they are the future beings, they are the tomorrow people, they
Yeah.
are already telepathic. I think that they're not separate, they're already intertwined, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And because of that, they're already clean.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't
they're clean. They've
like,
got no sort of karmic
yeah,
realignment to go through and stuff like that.
I haven't
And
got
there's,
the rubbish that I've had to go through.
yeah.
Or
I,
you,
I look at my grandson Theo, he's just turned 4, and
yeah,
we have this connection, eye to eye thing,
yeah.
and he winks at me like that as if to say, "You're right, Granddad."
Where do you
Yeah.
from?
Say again.
Where do you think he's from? What star
I
system?
don't know. I've no idea. And in a way, I don't go too deeply into that because with my mind, I'd get distracted looking deeper into that. And
Yeah.
that's why, I mean, Sirius to me is important because I know I get guided from Sirius, but it's not Sirius A or B, it's Sirius C.
Oh, that's
And
Yeah.
And science has said that there's no such thing as Sirius C, but I know in my heart that there is, and
Yeah.
that's sufficient information for me. And there's also a new group, they're called extragalactics. They're called the Perdusians, right? And I get guided by a race called the Perdusians. I've got no idea, but I know when they're in, and I know when my head's being lit up by them because it's very futuristic stuff. But what they're trying to do is they give me stuff that's about 10 years ahead, and I have to sort of track back now and give the in little chunks, you know. So things like magnetic energy causing electrical energy to move round, affecting our muscles and our musculoskeletal system. This is where I'm up to now, and the very important fourth phase of water, which isn't actually a fourth phase of water, it's actually a plasma. So as the solar plasma changes, it impacts upon our plasma that's in our bodies as well. And there's something called plasma dust. Honest to Christ, I get all this stuff. And this plasma dust is concentrating. That's what forms the rocks and the stars. But it's also happening now within our bodies as well as we move from a carbon-based structure to a crystalline structure. I used to hear all this and think, what a load of old shite. And it isn't shit to me anymore. It's actually happening. And people's physical bodies are changing. If your body's changing rapidly and you don't know what's going on, it means that you're being looked after and guided by the next level of evolution,
Yeah.
right? But by all means, if you've got a physical problem and you don't know what it is, go along, if you're a bit apprehensive, to your health professional. Generally speaking, and from my experience, they won't find anything wrong with you. They'll think it's psychosomatic. But if psycho means soul, it is definitely psychosomatic, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd suggest to people is by all means, don't turn your back on any direction of help. Because medicine, believe it or not, you know, rather than fighting against it, it's got some good stuff there as well. Especially the medical physics that's coming in. That's going to be really important in the future as well, you know.
But meditating as well. Everybody's got to be meditating because anything that happens in my body, my first go-to thing is go and have a bath, go to bed and meditate. And half the time, I can sleep for like 2 hours, 12 hours, and when I wake up, I have like all kinds of beings that I see just before I shut my eyes and I'll ask for help, and then I see them like in my mind's eye just before I go to sleep, and I know that they're going to help me in my sleep.
I agree. And I think we can do that. I say the same thing. I say, listen, I'm a bit concerned about this. Is
Yeah.
there any chance during me sleep you can get in there and sort it out, please? And whether that be psychic surgery, and whether or not I'm going cracking up again and going back to the psychiatric problems, I don't care because I feel alive, I feel enthusiastic, I feel clear, and I can almost like see me way forward. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at the moment. And when that's finished, I'll probably get another project given to me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going now.
Okay.
But honest to Christ, it's so lovely to see you.
You,
And and also I think that these gifts that you've got as well will be used to almost like clear a path for the children that are here, right? Or and those that are coming in as well. So I think in the future, right, you may be on the teaching team of the new SEND curriculum.
oh, maybe we'll see what.
Who, yeah, see what happens. And regards to your mum.
Yeah, she's doing really well, thank you.
Oh, that's good. Say Dr. Joe sends his love because I remember you bringing your mum in as a client when we were doing all the massage and stuff.
Did
Is
I?
that is that true? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you used to bring your mum in as a client, unless it's somebody else. But I think it was.
It was too many years ago. I can't remember.
What year was it? Can you remember?
2018, 2017, 2018, wasn't
Oh,
it?
right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't remember yesterday. Val, I love you like mad. We'll have another one of these further down the line to see what more comes in.
Yeah. Okay. You take care of yourself.
All right, and may the force remain with you forever and ever. Amen.
Potola melanina.
Oh, don't be at it. Shut up. Oh, I'm going. Bye bye.